Hello, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I am going to be talking about all 8 books that I read in the month of April, because there were some really good books that I read. I mean, I had such a wonderful reading month. I read across multiple different genres. I had a 5-star read, another one that was really close to a 5-star read. So many great books, so many things to talk about. So let's get into this reading wrap up. And to start off, let's quickly talk about my reading wrap up stats for the month of April. And I did read, as I said, 8 books, which equals out to about 2,909 pages. It took an average time of 5 days to finish some of the books. There was one book that definitely took a little bit longer, and the top genres that I had for the month of April was LGBT, contemporary romance, and fantasy. Now, what's interesting enough is that the LGBT, contemporary, and romance are like all one genre, but Storygraph like separates them out. And it's definitely interesting to look at these genres these last few months because of the fact that like usually 90% of the time, at least in the past, it's always been fantasy as the #1 genre that I've read. However, I have been leaning towards contemporary romance, which is very surprising for me because usually my 2 top genres are always queer literature and fantasy, and my average rating for the month of April was a 4.31 star, which is really great. So those are my stats. Now let's talk about the books that I read. I started off April really strong with my first 5-star read of the year, and I read Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I did an entire vlog on this. If you haven't seen my bookish scavenger hunt vlog, definitely go check that out because I pretty much talk about all of my feelings, all of my emotions with this book. There are so many things I can say about this book: the beautiful writing, the characters, just in general the romance and the friendships, and how Taylor Jenkins Reid is able to capture these beautiful themes. It was just stunning. Like, this was my first historical fiction, and the hype definitely was there. It lived up to its expectations. I had such high expectations for this book, and every single expectation was met. In fact, it like surpassed any expectation. 99.9% of the time I do not cry in books. This is one of the 2 books in my entire life that has actually made me cry. So started off April really strong. Then from there I did continue with the Game Changer series, and I picked up the 5th book in the series, which is Role Model by Rachel Reed. This one I did give a 4 stars, which if you've seen like my other vlogs, I've pretty much read almost every single one of these books in a vlog, and it started off with pretty much a 3-star and it's kind of worked its way up in stars, and this definitely deserves a 4-star. One, because Troy and Harris honestly are one of my favorite couples in all of these 6 books. I loved Troy and Harris. I loved their relationship. I loved their banter. I loved their adorable romance. Oh my god, Harris is the most cuddly teddy bear you will ever meet, and I loved everything about him. He's the social media manager for the Centaurs, which is one of the Canadian hockey teams, and Troy Barrett has been actually traded off from, I don't remember what team he came from, but he was traded off to the Centaurs after a situation happened where he called out one of these hockey players for some really terrible things that he did. And the thing that I really love about this one is that Rachel Reed uses a very popular, a very famous person for a voice for victims. And I love that. I love that when we see people in high power using their voice for good. Definitely love that. I love the romance. I mean, these books are so much fun to pick up. And what's really great is that as these books go on, Rachel Reed's writing gets so much better. So I did continue with this one. Then from there I picked up Brigands and Bread Knives, and this is by Travis Baldree, and I gave this one a 4-star. This is part of the Legends and Lattes universe, and this follows one of the characters from Bookshops and Bone Dust. And if you're wanting cozy, if you're wanting low stakes, if you're wanting found family and friendships and just beautiful storytelling, highly recommend picking up any of Travis Baldree's works. I think what's so nice about this one is this one focuses more, it gets away from kind of like the romances that are in the other ones and focuses more on friendship, finding oneself, what does one want to do in life, where does one want to go in life. If you're wanting a little bit more action that isn't in Legends and Lattes or Bookshops and Bone Dust, this one has a lot of fun action and interesting characters. Then another cozy book that I picked up that I just absolutely loved was The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. I ended up giving this one a 4.5 star, and this one was so close to a 5-star. Like, I really debated if this was a 4.5, if this was a 5-star. I love books about books, and I love books that now have this idea of book witches. Like, if I could be a book witch, I would be. Now granted, would I break all the rules because of the fact that I would like visit my favorite characters and try to live in these worlds? Absolutely. I would probably be kicked out of the coven like within a matter of like 2 seconds because of the fact that I couldn't follow a rule to save my life. The characters in here are so whimsical, they're so fun. I loved our main character, Rainey. I loved our main love interest. I loved our side characters. I loved the cozy cat who was a familiar. I loved this idea of being able to jump in to your favorite books and like save scenes, because that's what book witches do. They make sure that books are running the way that they need to. And there were plot twists. Plot twists of which some I saw coming, and one of them I was like, how did I even miss this? This is like one of those books that you would definitely want to pick up on a rating day. It was easy to get through in almost 1 to 2 sittings. This was the epitome of cozy and being a book lover. Then from there, I decided to step away from cozy fantasy and go into sci-fi, and I picked up The Martian by Andy Weir. I did give this one a 3.5 star. I did not enjoy this one as much as I did with Project Hail Mary, and the reason why was because of the fact that this entire book is told in a vlog entry dialogue. So pretty much what's happening is our main character, Mark, is talking to a camera, and we aren't given any emotional depth to his character. We aren't given any idea to who he is as an individual, and you don't really get that throughout the entire book. Here's an individual who's stranded on Mars, and while I understand that his main focus is surviving, so he just doesn't have time to talk about his emotional feelings, but at the same time, if I was stuck on a planet by myself, stranded 30-some thousand miles away from Earth, away from anyone, any living soul, honestly, I would have some mental breakdowns on those video vlogs. Like, I really would. And he doesn't. You don't get any idea into what he's thinking besides the fact that all he can talk about is how he's surviving and the science behind it. This is like one of the very few times that I will say that I enjoyed the movie more than I enjoyed the book, because Matt Damon does such a really good job at showing the emotions behind survival, and we don't get that in the book. Now that being said, I really enjoy the beginning, and I really did enjoy the end. The middle part was boring. Then I continued my reread of Heartstopper. This is volume 3. This is by Alice Oseman. I have been rereading every single volume as we are getting closer to the release date of volume 6. And I'm just really enjoying my reread. I didn't really give this one a rating because of the fact that it's a reread, and I usually don't change my ratings from what I rated it the first time. When I rated it the first time, I ended up giving this a 5 star. And if I would give it again, I don't think it would get a 5 star, but it's still one of my favorite series of all time. If you haven't read Heartstopper, where are you? Why haven't you read it? Go read it. Go watch the show. It is beautiful. It's wonderful. And I love everything about the series. And then from there, I just decided to continue with the Game Changer series and read the 6th book, and that is The Long Game by Rachel Reed. I now understand why people say this is like the best book out of all the series, because it truly is. It's the best written, it has the best plot, it has the best relationship growth, and I don't want to spoil it because of the fact that this does follow Ilya and Shane and kind of what happens after the ending of Heated Rivalry. So if you haven't read Heated Rivalry, I don't really want to spoil it for you, but just know that if you're holding off on this series, or you're holding off on reading this one because of the fact that Heated Rivalry wasn't written well, this is written so much better. I mean, like I said, as these books have gone on, the writing has gotten better and better and better. There's so many aspects and themes that the author brings into this book that I just really enjoyed. I love the focus on mental health. I love the focus on family. I love the focus on growing in relationships. It doesn't matter if it's friendship or romantic. I loved our focus on Ilya. We got a lot of focus on Ilya in this one. I can't believe I have to wait an entire month before Unrivaled comes out. And then wrapping up the month of April with a chunker here of 600 and some pages, I read The Jessed Crown by Sarah Hashem, and I gave this one a 4.5 star. I know that a lot of people did not enjoy this one as much as The Jessed Heir. However, I did not like The Jessed Heir, and I hesitated to continue this because I found The Jessed Heir boring, and I felt like the magic system wasn't focused on, our character development really wasn't there. I felt like with The Jessed Heir, nothing was really happening until the very end, whereas in from page 1 of The Jessed Crown, we've had action, and it put me on the edge of my seat, and the magic system was there, and the character development, oh my god, the character development was so beautiful in this book, and everything wrapped up, in my opinion, really beautifully at the end. The Scorched Thrones is only a duology, with The Jessed Heir being the first one and The Jessed Crown being the second one. I think that Sarah Hashem did such a wonderful job at wrapping everything up, and I know people, without spoiling it, I know people were not a fan of like the latter half of the book. However, I think like when I sat back and thought about it, there was only so many ways we could go towards the conclusion of this book, and I think that the book was wrapped up really, really well. Everything that I wanted in Jessid Air didn't happen, but it happened here, and that's what makes me happy. Another thing that I will say is that, you know, I do struggle with romantasy because of the fact that I feel like there's not a good balance between fantasy and romance. This does that. It has a really good balance. It could have even had a little bit more of that romance, but what I loved about the romantasy in this one is the yearning, the longing, the desperation. Those are the things that I love to see in romantasy, and I don't get that very often, and I got that in the Scorched Thrones duologies. So I'm so glad that I ended April so strong. Alright, so there we have it. There are all 8 books that I read in the month of April. April was another really great reading month. It has been a really good reading year. I'm hoping to continue with this reading momentum throughout the year, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this reading wrap up. Definitely in the comments let me know any books that you read in the month of April that you really enjoyed, and if you like my videos, definitely subscribe to my channel for more videos. I will see you in my next one. Bye!